Well, hello everybody out there and welcome to another random video. And today's video is another episode of Movie Passion. Yeah, I know it's been a while. So you probably wonder, hey, where is the color? Well, there is no color in this video because today I want to talk about a very, very beautiful modern day black and white movie. I want to talk about Angela by or from Luc Besson. Yeah, Luc Besson is mostly known for other movies. I think he worked on Leon and also the Taxi movies or The Fifth Element. But I think that Angela is probably one of his most underrated movies. I mean, when was the last time you heard somebody talking about The Fifth Element? And when was the last time you heard somebody talking about Angela? Well, there you go. And Angela is one of those modern day movies where it totally makes sense that it's shot in black and white. It's so much more beautiful that way. I couldn't imagine this movie in color, and I really don't think if it would have been in color that it would be just as beautiful as it is right now. So it was definitely the right choice to shoot this movie in black and white. I mean, there aren't really this many modern day black and white movies out there, but there are movies where it totally makes absolutely no sense whatsoever that they are shot in black and white or that there is a black and white version. Like, for example, Mad Max Fury Road, the Chrome edition. What's the point of that? I have absolutely no idea. But Angela, it definitely is one of those movies that shouldn't be in color, that should only be black and white, and that's the way it is. So, what is this movie all about? Well, this movie is about this guy, André. He comes from America, but he somehow has won a green card in a lottery. So he used that green card to travel to Paris, and he wanted to make some money in Paris and also build up his business, which has something to do with olive oil. That's all I know. And the problem is that André is a notorious liar with a very low self-esteem, and he's also apparently very bad at decision making. So he lended some money from some people, and then bad decision making, he lost a lot of money. Then he went to some other shady people to get more money, lost the money again. And so the amount of money that he owes people started to pile up. So now he owes a lot of money to a lot of people, and that's his main problem. And I don't know if it's true, but somehow he says that he also lost his papers and his passport and his credit card and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's really true at this point. Um, so he owes a lot of people a lot of money. For example, there are those three guys, and they work for a certain Monsieur Mamou that André owes 40,000 euros. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Maybe some people think, well, it isn't a lot of money. It's far away from 1 million, but to most people, 40,000 euros, it is a lot of money. And they want the money by the end of the day. So he doesn't really have this much time. So he goes to see another guy who was always lending him some money, Monsieur Franck. But Monsieur Franck doesn't really want to give him some money because he still also has to get a lot of money from André. To be more specific, it's 30,000 euros. So now we are already at 70,000 euros that he has to come up in or by the end of the day, basically, because Monsieur Franck also wants to get his money. So Andre really doesn't know what to do. So he decides to go to the American embassy, hoping that they would help him with his problems. But yeah, they would help normal citizens, but they definitely don't really help criminals to solve their problems. So then he thinks, well, what else can I do? Well, he figures if he's in prison, they can't get to him because nobody is breaking into prison to kill somebody. They wait until the person comes out of prison and then they kill that person. But yeah, apparently getting arrested also didn't really work out, so he can't even do that. So yeah, that's the point where he decides, well, that's it. I'm going to kill myself. So he goes to this bridge and he wants to commit suicide, but just as he's about to jump, he looks over to his right and he sees this really tall, beautiful blonde woman who also wants to commit suicide. So she jumps, then he jumps, he rescues her, and at first he's kind of pissed off, so to say, kind of like, hey, I can't even kill myself without anybody disturbing me. And he wants to know why she wanted to commit suicide, and she says that she has a lot of problems and she feels very ugly and all those kinds of things, and he can't understand it because he thinks that she looks really beautiful. And she says, well, yeah, maybe I look beautiful, but I still feel pretty ugly on the inside. And then she says that because he rescued her and because he saved her life, that she wants to be by his side and do whatever he says. And he thinks, well, that's a good thing. Maybe I can use that somehow. Maybe I can use her to solve my problems. And yeah, he goes to Monsieur Franck once again, and he thinks, now that I have this beautiful woman beside me or by my side, maybe Monsieur Franck is willing to negotiate. But the problem isn't so much that other people have, or that other people don't really have that much respect for Andre. One of the main problems is still that Andre doesn't really have that much respect for himself. So that's why the whole negotiation didn't really work out that well. But then Angelin took over the negotiation, and somehow she managed to solve the problems. She convinced Monsieur Franck to delete everything that Andre still owes him. So he doesn't owe Monsieur Franck any more money anymore. Yeah. So he doesn't owe Monsieur Franck any more money. And on top of that, she also got some extra money for Andre that he can now use to solve his other financial problems. But that's where Andre becomes very suspicious, kind of like, hey, what did you do? Did you do some dirty stuff to get the money? And he doesn't want the money, then he wants the money, he doesn't want the money, and then finally he takes the money. So Angela basically just wants to give him a nice time. She says, well, now you have one less problem, so let's just go on a boat. Let's just celebrate and have a nice time. But Andre isn't really able to do that right now because he still owes a lot of people a lot of money. It's probably, I don't know if it's still something like 50,000 euros or something like that. So, yeah, it still is a lot of money. So next, he decides, okay, I still have one more guy to pay off, and I have enough money right now to do that. So they go into this club who has a really beautiful door to say. Yeah, this door just looks amazing. It's a real eye catcher. So he goes into this club, and the club apparently belongs to a guy named Pedro, and Andre owes him 12 to 20,000 euros, something like that. So Andre gives him the money, and Pedro makes a lot of compliments, and he compliments Andre and says, well, you are on the right track, and you have a really beautiful girlfriend, and blah blah blah. And then he makes Andre an offer. He tells him about a rigged horse race. So he says that this is a nice way that Andre could make some extra money. And Andre falls for it. But yeah, it doesn't really work out. He's losing the money. And Angela tells him, well, you should have known that it isn't going to work because of the horse's name. The horse's name was Brutus. And so Andre says, well, why didn't you tell me? And she says, well, why weren't you more suspicious? Has Pedro ever made you an offer like that? And he said, no. Well, there you go. Why weren't you suspicious when he made you the offer? Because he was complimenting you. You have very, very low self-esteem, and this means every time somebody compliments you, you jump. And this is a problem that she wants to solve. So, yeah, they go into this club and they talk, and this is the point where she reveals who she really is, or to be more specific, what she really is. Because when you look at the title of the movie and also some scenes in the movie, there is a certain amount of foreshadowing. So she reveals that she is in fact an angel sent from the heavens to help Andre to get his life back together and to solve his problems, and so that he is able to live a good life. But of course, first he doesn't believe her. I mean, who would believe somebody that tells you, hey, I'm an angel, I'm sent from the heavens to help you? So he demands proof. So she gives him proof by letting the ashtray float in midair, but that's not proof enough for him. So he demands more proof. So she puts out her cigarette, and then the cigarette grows back. So, yeah, she is a real angel. And he wants to understand why, because he can't comprehend. Nobody has ever cared about him, and all of a sudden, an angel was sent from above to help him. This is too much for him. You know, not only is there somebody there that cares about him, but it's a real angel that cares about him. That's just too much for him. And this brings us to probably the most, or one of the most emotional scenes in movie history. Well, at least in my opinion. I have seen a lot of movies, emotional movies, but you know, most of the times when there is something emotional, it's, you know, somebody that dies. A very special person dies. That's very emotional. But this scene, it's so emotional because it's so simple. So they stand in this bathroom. I think it's a public bathroom, public toilet or whatever, and they stand in front of the mirror. And she wants him to tell her that he loves her, which is already a very, very huge step for him. And it's very difficult for him to do that. And she explains that it's, of course, that it's very difficult for him because it's very difficult to give love because he has never received love. And she tries to explain that to him. So she tells him that she loves him. And she says, well, there you go. Now you have received love. Now you're able to give love. But it's still pretty difficult for him. But eventually he does it. And now she wants him to say, I love you, to himself. And this is such an emotional moment, because the fact that this is even harder for him than telling her that he loves her. This is so emotional because at this point it makes you realize what he feels. You immediately understand André. You immediately know all the problems that he has, all the problems with his low self-esteem. And yeah, it's just so amazing that you learn so much about this character just because of him not really being able to say I love you to himself. This tells you so much about this character. And it's such a very simple scene, you know, two people standing in front of a mirror, but it's still so incredibly emotional. And yeah, there are many people that struggle with something like this nowadays, because we live in a very, I don't know, is it a very no, not superficial world, you know, and it's just so many people have problems with their self-esteem because of the way they are and the way they look, and they don't look the way how, you know, society wants you to look, kind of, when you look at all those influencers, all those people on Instagram and in the papers and in the movies, you know, all those people, they look so perfect and so beautiful, but you know, that's not real, that's not reality. And that's why many people nowadays have a lot of problems with their low self-esteem, because they just don't look that way. And you know, this scene also tells you, hey, you don't have to look that way. You have to be yourself. You don't have to fit. And yeah, it is a very powerful, very, very emotional scene. So now that probably one of the biggest problems is solved, you know, the problem with his low self-esteem, they have to solve his very, very last problem, which is still Monsieur Franck. So he goes to Monsieur Franck, and it really helps that Angela is an angel and that she has apparently supernatural powers. You know, one power is that she is very, very strong, and she can also make people unconscious, just like that. So André and Angela, they go to Monsieur Franck, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because of Angela, because of the fact that they were able to pass all those security guards, or it's because the fact that Angela can, you know, make somebody unconscious just like that. But for some reason, Monsieur Franck is all of a sudden scared of André. And yeah, André, he just does the thing that he should have done in the first place. Tell André, tell Monsieur Franck the truth. The truth, how he really feels, how he really thinks about Monsieur Franck. And you know, he doesn't really pay him back, but he makes him so afraid of him that he doesn't have to pay him back for some reason. And that apparently works. So the last problem was solved, but now this comes to another. Now here comes another problem. The problem that Angela started to also fall in love with André. But the problem is, now that her job is done, she has to go back to heaven. But André doesn't really want that. And in a certain way, she also doesn't really want that. But she has the problem that, yeah, she has no past. She doesn't really know who she is. And that's another really great and emotional moment that, she has to go back, but both of them don't really want her to go back. And this is such a really great movie. So many emotions and so many things that this movie can teach you. It's just a really beautiful movie and highly underrated. But yeah, that's why I'm making those videos. I want to talk about movies that not many people talk about. Movies that don't really get the attention that they deserve. We all know all those mainstream movies, all those mainstream blockbusters like The Fifth Element and the Avengers and Lord of the Rings and Spider-Man and Pirates of the Caribbean and all those kinds of movies. But there are those movies that are very, very special, but not really many people talk about those movies. And that's what I want to do. I want to talk about those movies so that you can discover those movies. So, yeah, I hope that you really like Angela. I hope you like this video. And I hope that you subscribe to my channel. Usually I'm not begging for subscribers, but apparently it looks like there are a lot of people that have subscribed to my channel, but they don't really watch my videos, or they are waiting for different content. Yeah, that's the problem when you have a YouTube channel with various different videos or different content. And yeah, but I'm still trying to make as many interesting videos as possible, even though the content is changing every now and then. But yeah, that's just the way it is. I don't want to make a third channel for my movie reviews and then another channel for whatever. I just want to concentrate everything on this one channel, even though it's a little bit crazy sometimes. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next random video. Bye.